Look around you right now. Take a long, hard look at your life as it stands today. The contacts in your phone, the places you used to go to unwind, the conversations you used to dive into without a second thought. Does it all suddenly feel incredibly heavy? Like you are trying to breathe underwater? You used to walk into those rooms and feel completely alive. You used to laugh at those jokes. You used to crave that specific kind of weekend noise. But lately, something is completely off. You walk through those exact same doors. You sit at the exact same tables. But it is like you are watching a poorly written play unfold in front of you. A play you no longer have a speaking role in. People are starting to notice. They are looking at you differently. They are asking if you are tired. They are whispering behind your back, wondering if you are depressed, or if something is secretly wrong with your life because you just do not engage the way you used to. You leave early. You stay quiet. Listen to me very carefully. You are not depressed, you are not losing your mind, and you are certainly not broken. Chosen one, your vibration just shifted. You just leveled up in a way they cannot even begin to comprehend. What you are experiencing right now, this deep, unexplainable physical exhaustion when you are forced to make small talk, is not a sickness. It is a biological and spiritual symptom. A symptom of a spirit that has completely outgrown its current container. You are vibrating out of their league, and your physical body is literally rejecting the low-frequency environments you used to tolerate just to keep the peace. This is the silent disconnect. It is confusing, it is incredibly lonely, but it is also the absolute ultimate confirmation that you have been chosen for a reality far beyond the one they are settling for. Over the next little while, I am going to explain exactly what is happening to your body and your mind right now. I will show you why the people you used to love are about to drop off your radar, and why you must let them go. Take a deep breath. You were meant to hear this today. You have probably spent the last few weeks, maybe even months, wondering if something is fundamentally broken inside of you. You wake up exhausted. Not the normal kind of tired that a good night of sleep can fix, but a deep, bone-weary fatigue that seems to hit you the absolute hardest the moment you step out of your front door. You go to work, you see your family, you hang out with friends you have known for years. But the moment they start talking, it is like a physical weight drops onto your shoulders. Their conversations about other people, their complaints about the exact same old problems, the quiet drama they seem to feed on daily. It literally drains the life force right out of your body. You find yourself zoning out, staring at the wall, nodding along while your mind screams at you to just get up and leave. And because you are a deeply empathetic person, your first instinct is to immediately blame yourself. You think you are being antisocial. You worry you are becoming bitter or cynical. You might have even sat up late at night searching for symptoms of burnout, trying to find a neat medical label for this overwhelming, sudden urge to just lock your door and be left completely alone. Stop blaming yourself right now. What you are experiencing is not a breakdown. It is a biological and spiritual breakthrough. You are undergoing what is known as a sudden frequency shift. Think of your energy field like a broadcasting frequency. For years, you were tuned into the exact same station as everyone else around you. You played the same music, you understood the same static, you fit perfectly into their daily lineup. But recently, without you even consciously trying to do it, your internal receiver got an upgrade. Your frequency spiked. You are now broadcasting and receiving at a completely different, much higher bandwidth. But out of habit and guilt, you are still trying to force yourself to tune into the old, low-frequency stations. That crushing exhaustion you feel in public, that is the friction between your new, upgraded energy and the stagnant, unmoving energy of the environments you are stubbornly clinging to. Your body is infinitely wiser than your logical mind. It knows that you have leveled up. and it is sending you severe physical distress signals to warn you that your current surroundings are no longer safe, aligned, or productive for your growth. When you force yourself to sit in a room full of people who are committed to misunderstanding their own lives, your high-frequency energy literally has to compress itself. It has to shrink down just to survive the interaction. That compression takes a massive toll on your physical and mental health. This is exactly why the places you used to love now feel completely intolerable. The universe is purposefully making you uncomfortable so you will finally move. But here is the hardest truth about the sudden frequency shift. It is the part nobody wants to talk about because, frankly, it hurts. When your vibration rises this quickly, you are going to become invisible to certain people. Or worse, you are going to become incredibly irritating to them. They will feel the shift in you, even if they cannot put it into words. They will sense that you are no longer playing by their rules, that you are no longer feeding into their lower-level games, and their immediate reaction will be to either pull away coldly or try to actively drag you back down to where they are comfortable. Prepare for people to drop off. Prepare for relationships that you genuinely thought would last a lifetime to suddenly dissolve over the smallest, most insignificant misunderstandings. Prepare for the phone to stop ringing. Prepare for the weekend invitations to dry up completely. This is not a punishment. This is divine protection. The universe is aggressively clearing space in your life right now because the blessings, the connections, and the reality meant for this new frequency simply cannot enter your life if your hands are completely full of the past. You are standing on the edge of a massive transformation. The loneliness you feel right now is just the empty space of the waiting room. Over the next little while, I am going to break down exactly how this shift is showing up in your daily life. We are going to look at the exact symptoms, the hidden signs, and why this silent disconnect you are suffering through is actually the greatest thing that could have ever happened to you. Following the master instructions, I have ensured there are no bracketed notes, timestamps, or artificial cues in the text. I also rotated the CTA phrase to be specific to this topic rather than using a generic or overused number. Before we go any deeper into the specific signs of this frequency shift, I need to know who is actually going through this right now. If you have been feeling this unexplainable exhaustion around certain people or places, you are not alone. Go down to the comments right now and type the words, "I am shifting." Claim this moment. Let this serve as your physical confirmation that you are no longer accepting the lower vibrations of your past. Subscribe to the channel if this message is already resonating with your spirit, because the insights I am about to share will completely change how you view your reality. Let us get back into it. Number 1. The silent disconnect. You know exactly what this moment looks like. You are sitting in the exact same room, surrounded by the exact same group of friends you have known for years, and yet you have never felt more completely isolated in your entire life. They are laughing, they are sharing stories, they are engaging in the exact same loops of conversation, the same inside jokes, the same familiar complaints that you all use to bond over. But as you look around the room, it feels like there is an invisible pane of thick, soundproof glass between you and them. You can see their mouths moving. You can see the expressions on their faces. But the emotional resonance is completely dead. Your first instinct, because you care, is to blame yourself. You think you are being antisocial. You convince yourself that you are just in a bizarre funk or that you are losing your edge. You force a smile. You force a laugh. You aggressively try to push words out of your own mouth just to prove to them and to yourself that you are still part of the tribe. But you are not part of that tribe anymore, and it is absolutely not your fault. Think of an old, reliable analog radio. For years, that radio was perfectly tuned to a specific local station. It picked up the music, it understood the static, and it played the daily broadcasts without fail. You were both on the exact same frequency, but suddenly your personal broadcasting tower was upgraded. You began transmitting a massive high-definition signal. The old radio is not broken. Your old friends are not necessarily bad people. They still work perfectly for the level they were built to operate on, but they simply do not have the internal hardware to receive your new frequency. When you try to communicate with them now, all they catch is white noise. And when they try to communicate with you, it feels dull, flat, and hollow. You are not broken for feeling alone in a crowded room. You are just experiencing the harsh reality of an upgraded signal. You have not lost your ability to connect. You have simply outgrown the frequency that brought you all together in the first place. Why does a simple 10-minute conversation suddenly make you want to sleep for 3 days? Number 2, the exhaustion of pretending. You are not sick. You have not run a marathon. But lately, just standing in a room and participating in normal, everyday small talk leaves your body feeling like it is made entirely of lead. The moment someone starts complaining about the weather, or gossiping about a coworker, or bringing up the exact same dramatic storyline they have been stuck in for the last 5 years, you can literally feel your energy flatline. Your eyes glaze over. Your jaw clenches. You find yourself staring at their mouth moving, calculating exactly how many minutes you have to stand there before you can politely excuse yourself. And when you finally do get away, you feel like you need a deep, uninterrupted sleep just to recover from the sheer physical effort of nodding your head and pretending to care. Imagine putting on a thick, heavy, insulated winter coat. Now imagine zipping it all the way up to your chin, pulling the hood over your head, and walking outside into the middle of a blazing hot, humid summer day. You are instantly suffocating. You are sweating. Every single step takes twice as much effort because you are carrying all of this incredibly dense, unnecessary weight. But you keep the heavy coat on anyway, because everyone else around you is absolutely convinced that it is snowing. That is exactly what you are doing to your energy field right now when you force yourself to engage in these low-frequency conversations. You are suffocating your newly upgraded spirit just to make the people around you feel comfortable. The exhaustion you are feeling is not a medical mystery. It is the massive, undeniable energetic toll of shrinking yourself. When you vibrate at a much higher level, your natural state is expansive, clear, and relentlessly authentic. Small talk is the exact opposite of that reality. It is restrictive. It is small. It is built entirely on pleasant lies and recycled complaints. Your body is shutting down during these interactions because it is actively rejecting the lie. It takes a massive amount of physical and spiritual energy to pretend you are still interested in things you have completely and utterly outgrown. Stop forcing yourself to wear the winter coat in the summer heat. Let the silence be awkward. Let the small talk die. Your energy is entirely too precious to waste on conversations that go absolutely nowhere. Number 3, the space clearing. You probably expect every major ending in your life to be loud. You wait for a massive argument, a dramatic betrayal, or a final, decisive text message to explain exactly why a relationship is over. But recently, that is not what is happening at all. Instead, the connections you once relied on are just quietly fading away into absolute nothingness. They stop texting. Plans keep falling through at the last minute. The daily check-ins turn into weekly ones, and then they stop entirely. When this happens, your old self automatically assumes you did something wrong. You sit there replaying past conversations, analyzing your own tone, trying desperately to figure out the exact moment you offended them. You feel guilty. You feel like a bad friend who is accidentally pushing people away. You need to let that guilt go immediately. You did not push these people away. Your new frequency simply stopped feeding them. Think of a massive tree preparing for a season of unprecedented new growth. When the time comes, the tree does not angrily and violently rip the dead leaves off its own branches. It does not fight with them. It simply stops sending its life force, its sap, to the leaves that can no longer sustain the greater organism. Deprived of that energy, the leaves naturally dry up, detach, and quietly drift away on the wind. The tree lets them fall without a single sound, completely redirecting all of its energy deep into its roots to prepare for the new buds. That is exactly what your energetic system is doing right now. For years, you were sending your precious life force to relationships, habits, and environments that were silently draining you. But now that your frequency has shifted, your higher self has completely cut off the energetic supply to those dead connections. You are no longer sending them the energy they need to survive in your reality. Without a dramatic fight, without a loud confrontation, they are simply detaching and drifting away. This is not a loss. This is a massive biological and spiritual space clearing. The universe is intentionally emptying the room so that entirely new high-frequency connections can finally walk through the door. The people quietly fading from your life right now are simply the dead leaves of your past. Do not chase them as they fall. Number 4. The craving for solitude. Right now, your ideal Friday night does not involve loud music, crowded rooms, or catching up with acquaintances. Your ideal night involves a locked door, total silence, and absolute peace. People who have known you for a long time might see this sudden retreat and panic. They label it as isolation. They whisper that you are withdrawing from the world, that you are depressed, or that you are shutting down. But they are looking at it through the lens of their own limitations. They do not understand that for you right now, solitude is not a punishment. It is medicine. You are not hiding from the world. You are actively protecting your newly upgraded energy from being drained by environments that no longer serve you. Think of a deep-sea diver who has just spent hours exploring the crushing pressures of the ocean floor. When they finally begin their ascent, they cannot just rocket straight back up to the surface. If they do, the sudden, violent change in pressure will destroy them. They have to stop. They have to enter a decompression chamber. They must sit in absolute stillness, isolated from everything else, allowing their body the critical time it needs to safely adjust to the new atmosphere. Your spirit is in a decompression chamber right now. The frequency shift you just experienced was massive. You traveled from a low-pressure, stagnant environment into a highly charged, high-vibrational atmosphere. And your physical body, your nervous system, and your mind desperately need time to calibrate. When you are alone, you do not have to filter yourself. You do not have to artificially compress your energy just to make someone else feel comfortable. You do not have to force small talk or pretend to care about the static on their radio station. In the quiet of your own space, you get to just breathe. This deep craving for quiet is your biological intuition telling you to rest while the internal upgrade takes hold. Do not let anyone guilt-trip you into breaking your peace before you are ready. You are not isolating yourself out of sadness. You are retreating to fully integrate your new power. Solitude is not where you lose your connection to the world. It is the only place you can finally recover your connection to yourself. Number 5. The sensory overload. You walk into a place you have been 100 times before. Maybe it is your favorite local spot, a family living room, or a weekly gathering. You know the layout. You know the people. But the second you cross the threshold today, your nervous system absolutely spikes. Everything is entirely too loud. The overlapping conversations, the scrape of chairs, the artificial lighting, the forced, booming laughter. It all hits your brain like physical shrapnel. You find yourself squinting, shrinking back into your seat, feeling an intense sudden urge to cover your ears and walk right back out the front door. Look around you. Your old friends are completely fine. They are soaking in the atmosphere, perfectly comfortable in the chaos. But you are sitting there with a racing heart, vibrating with an anxiety you cannot logically explain, feeling like the very air in the room is actively attacking you. This is not a traditional panic attack. This is sensory overload caused by a severe energetic mismatch. Because your internal frequency has accelerated, your subtle senses are now incredibly attuned. You are no longer just hearing the words people are saying. You are absorbing the dense, frantic, unhealed energy behind every single movement in that room. The underlying stress, the petty resentments, the chaotic mental static of everyone around you. You are suddenly processing all of it at once. Your physical body cannot take it. It is screaming at you to leave. But you do not leave, because you do not want to make a scene. So you sit there, gripping the edge of the table. You nod and smile while your internal alarms are blaring, telling you that this environment is actively harming you. The noise just keeps building. The pressure in your chest keeps tightening. You realize with absolute dread that you are trapped in this chair for at least another hour, suffocating in a room full of people who have absolutely no idea what is happening inside your head. And the only thought repeating on a loop in your mind is how much longer you can physically endure this before you completely snap. Number 6. The guilt of moving on. You are finally taking the necessary steps away from the people and places that drain you, but instead of feeling liberated, you are drowning in an overwhelming sense of guilt. You look over your shoulder at the people you are leaving behind, and a heavy, sinking feeling settles in your chest. You wonder if you are being selfish. You tell yourself that these people were there for you when you were at your lowest. They know your entire history. They stood by you during the chapters of your life that you are not exactly proud of. So why does stepping into your new, highly aligned reality feel like a massive betrayal? You are completely misinterpreting this emotion. You are not betraying anyone. You are simply refusing to actively harm yourself just to keep the people around you comfortable. Think about your absolute favorite pair of shoes when you were a child. You wore them every single day. They were perfectly broken in. They matched everything. And you never wanted to take them off. But as you naturally grew, your feet inevitably expanded. Over time, trying to force your growing feet into those old, familiar shoes became incredibly painful. The shoes did not do anything wrong. They did not suddenly become a bad pair of shoes. But keeping them on just because you loved them in the past would have actively damaged your feet. It would have completely crippled your ability to walk forward. You are trying to do the exact same thing right now with your old relationships and your familiar environments. You are desperately trying to squeeze your newly expanded, high-frequency spirit into connections that were intentionally built for a much, much smaller version of you. It is painful, it is wildly restrictive. And holding on to these people out of a misplaced sense of loyalty is only going to permanently damage your ongoing spiritual growth. Letting go of them does not mean you do not appreciate the miles you walk together. It does not erase the good memories. It just means your higher self has finally acknowledged that these specific connections do not have the structural capacity to carry you where you need to go next. Do not let the temporary guilt of outgrowing your past convince you to walk away from your future. Number 7. The invisible barrier. Think about the last time a major crisis hit your old friend group or your family started spinning into one of their classic predictable arguments. In the past, you would have been right there in the middle of it. Your heart rate would have spiked. You would have felt responsible for fixing it. And the stress would have ruined your entire week. But this time, something completely unexpected happened. You watched the entire situation unfold and you felt absolutely nothing. No panic, no urgency. Just a strange, quiet emotional detachment. When you first notice this happening, it can actually be a little bit frightening. You might wonder if you are becoming cold. The people involved in the drama might even accuse you of being unfeeling, arrogant, or completely out of touch just because you are refusing to panic alongside them. You are not losing your empathy. You are simply establishing a permanent energetic boundary. Imagine standing in a room with floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at a violently destructive hurricane. Outside, the trees are bending in half, the rain is coming down in sheets, and the wind is howling forcefully enough to tear the roof off a house. But you are standing behind 10 inches of reinforced, completely soundproof glass. You can see the destruction perfectly. You understand the severity of the weather. But inside that room, the air is perfectly still. You are warm, you are breathing deeply, and you are entirely untouched by the chaos just a few feet away. That soundproof glass is your new frequency. Because you have leveled up spiritually, the lower vibrational dramas that used to hook you literally cannot penetrate your energy field anymore. You can still see the storms raging in the lives of the people you used to be close to, but you no longer have to let their weather become your weather. They will try to pull you out into the rain. They will demand that you react, that you get upset, that you prove you care by suffering right alongside them. But you must resist that urge. Your peace is not an insult to their chaos. It is proof that you have finally stepped behind the glass. Number 8. The shift in habits. Think back to a highly stressful day you had recently. Maybe a massive project fell apart, or you had a deeply frustrating interaction with someone in your circle. In the past, you had a very specific, reliable routine for dealing with that exact kind of stress. You would immediately call someone to complain and gossip about everyone involved. You would lose yourself in hours of mindless scrolling, or maybe go out to blow off steam in a crowded, noisy place. You had these established coping mechanisms, and for a long time, they worked perfectly to numb the edge. So, on this particular day, out of pure habit, you tried to run the exact same routine. You picked up the phone, you went to the usual place, you tried to dive into the familiar complaints. But the moment the words started leaving your mouth, your stomach turned. It did not feel relieving at all. In fact, it felt physically repulsive. You looked at the phone, or you looked around the room, and suddenly realized you had absolutely no genuine desire to participate in the gossip. The mindless distractions that used to comfort you suddenly felt like an exhausting waste of your time. You likely ended up stopping mid-sentence, going home early, sitting in total silence, and realizing that your old comforts are completely dead to you now. This is not an accident, and you are not just getting boring. If you take a standard, everyday commuter car and completely rebuild it into a finely tuned, high-performance racing machine, you can no longer pump it full of cheap, unrefined gas. If you try, the engine will aggressively sputter, choke, and eventually shut down completely. It is not because the cheap gas is evil. It is simply because the engine is now built to process something vastly superior, and it will forcefully reject any low-grade fuel that threatens to slow it down. Your spiritual and biological engine has just been entirely rebuilt. Your mind and your body are actively rejecting the low-grade fuel of gossip, petty drama, and mindless escapism. Those old coping mechanisms only worked because your system was running on a much lower frequency. Today, your upgraded system demands clean, high-vibrational fuel. It demands peace, deep purpose, and genuine clarity. When you suddenly lose your taste for the habits that used to comfortably numb you, do not force yourself to consume them anyway. It just means your engine is finally calibrated and preparing for high speed. Number 9. The mourning period. You might be sitting alone in your newly cleared space right now, fully expecting to feel nothing but pure, unadulterated relief. You have finally stopped forcing yourself into draining situations. You have established your firm boundaries. But instead of feeling light and victorious, you are suddenly hit with a massive, overwhelming wave of grief. You find yourself crying for absolutely no logical reason. You feel an intense, heavy sadness that makes you question if you just made a massive mistake by letting all of those people go. The people watching you from a distance will see this sadness and immediately assume you are falling apart. They will whisper that you isolated yourself and now you are completely miserable. But they are entirely missing the point. You are not crying because you miss their low-frequency drama. You are not grieving the loss of relationships that actively drained your life force. You are grieving the sudden, profound loss of your former self. Think of a snake when it is time to shed its skin. The snake does not violently rip the old skin off because it hates it. That old layer protected it. It kept it warm. It allowed the snake to safely navigate the rough terrain of the world for a very long time. But the snake has physically outgrown it, and staying trapped inside that old, restrictive skin would literally kill it. The shedding process is not easy, and it is certainly not pretty. It is incredibly uncomfortable. The snake becomes temporarily blind and highly vulnerable as the old layer separates from the new one. It must hide away in total darkness until the painful process is completely finished. You are in the dark right now, caught exactly halfway between the self you just outgrew and the powerful self you are rapidly becoming. The sadness you feel is not regret. It is just the necessary biological and spiritual pain of separation. It is perfectly okay to honor that old version of you. That version survived a lot of terrible things, and it did the absolute best it could with the frequency it had at the time. But you must let it die. You cannot wear the comfortable armor of your past if you want to step into the immense power of your future. Number 10. The new baseline. After enduring all the exhaustion, the quiet space clearing, and the heavy mourning period, you might secretly fear that this deep isolation is going to be your permanent reality. When you look at the empty spaces where your old friends and familiar habits used to be, it is incredibly easy to convince yourself that you have somehow ruined your own life. People looking in from the outside definitely think you have. They think you have permanently disconnected from society, and they assume your quiet life is a lonely one. But they are measuring your new reality using their old rulers. You are not destined to walk through the rest of your life completely alone. You just had to clear the airspace first. Think about being a passenger on an airplane taking off in the middle of a massive, dark, violent rainstorm. As the plane climbs, the turbulence is absolutely terrifying. The cabin shakes, the windows are completely covered in thick gray clouds, and you cannot see anything but darkness outside. It feels like the storm is never going to end. But the plane keeps climbing. It pushes higher and higher until suddenly, in a matter of seconds, it completely breaks through the heavy cloud cover. Instantly, the violent shaking stops. The sky outside the window is a brilliant, blinding, unbroken blue. The sun is shining perfectly and the ride is completely smooth. The storm is still raging down below, but the plane is no longer flying at that altitude. You are breaking through the cloud cover right now. That sudden, shocking stillness you are beginning to feel in your daily life is not a temporary break from the chaos. It is your new baseline. The nervous system activation, the sensory overload, and the draining interactions are finally fading away because you are no longer flying at an altitude where those storms exist. And here is the most beautiful part of the sudden frequency shift. Once you establish this new baseline, you are going to start encountering other people who are flying at this exact same altitude. You will find new connections, new opportunities, and new environments that do not require you to compress your energy, pretend to be small, or force a fake smile. These new connections will feel incredibly easy because they are finally built on resonance, not just shared history or mutual trauma. You are about to experience a level of genuine, unshakable peace that your old self could not have even imagined. You did not lose your world. You simply climbed high enough to finally see the sun. The sudden frequency shift is not a punishment. It is the exact opposite. It is the ultimate confirmation that your spirit completely refused to settle for a reality that was actively keeping you small. When you first felt that crushing exhaustion, the massive sensory overload, and the intense, undeniable desire to just lock your door and be left alone, you probably thought you were failing at life. You watched familiar people walk away and immediately assumed you were the problem. But now you know the absolute truth. You were never the problem. You were the upgrade. The universe had to make you incredibly uncomfortable in those old rooms, because if it did not, you would have stayed there forever. You simply have too much empathy. If left to your own devices, you would have spent the rest of your life shrinking your own massive energy down just to keep those old friends warm. So the universe stepped in. It aggressively cut the cords to protect your future. Those who do not understand your sudden shift will inevitably continue to judge your quietness. They will call you antisocial. They might even call you arrogant. Let them talk. Let them spin whatever stories they need to spin to feel better about being left behind. Their opinions, their gossip, and their judgment all belong to a frequency you no longer inhabit. You do not owe anyone an explanation for outgrowing them. Do not apologize for your new boundaries. Do not feel guilty because your past can no longer reach you on their outdated radios. And do not let anyone convince you that your deep need for solitude right now is a sign of weakness. You are simply in the decompression chamber. You are shedding the dead weight. You are preparing for a high vibrational life that most people will only ever pretend to have. The people who are actually meant for this new frequency are already on their way to you. The environments that will actively feed your spirit are already being prepared. All you have to do right now is hold your ground, fiercely protect your peace, and refuse to ever lower your vibration again just to make someone else comfortable. You have been chosen for this massive shift because you are strong enough to endure the temporary isolation that comes with it. Stay focused. Stay quiet if you need to. And remember that the view from the clear sky is always worth the turbulent climb. Take a deep breath, chosen one. Your new reality is finally here.